Hey you guys, what's up? This is Level Up with Sharie Wilson, and I am super excited to have this conversation with Paige. Hi Paige,
Hey.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. So listen, for those who don't know Paige, you've been out there on these social media streets, giving wisdom and dropping knowledge, and pretty much I feel like you've been sharing your story already online. But for those who don't know Paige, introduce yourself.
Well, I don't say much, but I guess if I can say anything, like Sharie just mentioned, I am Paige, last name Cohens, recently married.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you. So my name is Paige. I am a mother. I have 2 boys. I have a 14 and 16-year-old, soon to be 17 in a couple days. Heavily involved in my church. I help out with different ministries, the women's ministry, the kids ministry. I don't like to use the word influencer, but I guess apparently because of the way social media is set up and by me being open with my story and my transition and my transformation that God has done in my life within these past couple of years, that also fits in the category.
Yeah. And I've been knowing you since you was a young girl. So I've seen the journey. I've seen you become a mother. I've seen you raise your kids. So I've kind of been in the shadows watching you, and I've seen the growth. I saw where you was and where you are today. And to me, it's just like, won't he do it? Moments, right?
Yes.
So tell us about the Paige before Paige Cohens. That's your new last name?
Cohens.
Cohens, okay. So tell us, who is Paige?
Man, Paige is just a young girl from Kansas City, Missouri, just trying to figure it out. Had her first son at 18. I'm speaking in third person, that's crazy. I had my first son at 18. And from that point, just trying to figure out what's next. How do I provide, but also still trying to keep my personal life, as far as just keeping up with friendships and keeping up with just anything that wasn't in alignment with being probably a good mother, if that makes sense. But I think overall also just chasing what I saw everybody else, what I thought was the dream as a single mother, if that makes sense.
Like the way of life.
Yeah.
And what did that look like? Like, what did that look like? You being a single mom, having a kid at 18. How was your 20s? Because there's a lot of things that you was doing that you no longer do anymore.
Yeah.
And how did that impact you?
It was rough. So I think one of the things that I walk over a lot is that my parents had moved me to California when I was in middle school. So I was in middle school. And then we ended up relocating back to Missouri in 2009 when I was pregnant with my youngest son. So from that point up into my 20s, just the thought of being exposed to California and going back to Missouri, I was just lost. I knew that there was no way in the back of my mind that I could ever relocate back here just with the resources I had on my own. So I ended up connecting with different friends, family members in the inner city, just chasing the dream of a young girl. You know, you want, like I mentioned earlier, you want, I don't know, let's just be honest. You want a man with the money. You want a baller. You know, you want to be out every weekend. I was just drinking, and I was all over the place. Yeah.
So you was turned.
I was turned every day, all day, and I was super grateful for my family because they had my son. I was great, and I was a very present mother, but I also had a lot of support, so they made it easier for me to just do whatever I wanted to do. And I can honestly say the last thing on my mind when I moved back home was a family. If I'm being super transparent, though I had my son, my mindset and my mentality was not to create a space and to create an environment for him to have 2 parents in the home, because I was too busy chasing selfish dreams and things that I thought was popular and what I wanted, as opposed to what he needed.
And that's when you had that one. And then you had a second one.
Then I had my second one because I did a lot of back and forth from out here to back home, Kansas City to Sacramento because their father was out here. And so we tried to do the family thing. We did the best that we could. We were really young. We didn't have a lot of resources, a lot of people to follow. My mentality was still the same though. It was like, even though I moved out here and even though I gave it a try, I still wanted to keep up with everybody else on social media. And just different family members or friends that I've known in high school that have moved out, went to college and flourished, yet they didn't have children. And so eventually I ended up moving back home because the effort that we both put in, it just, we couldn't, the family thing didn't work. And
And when you said back home, that's back to Kansas City.
Yes.
Yeah. So you moved back home with your second son. And so is this where your life start like taking a shape out there in Kansas City, or is it when you moved back to Sacramento?
I would have to say, so I moved back to Kansas City when he was 6 months.
I didn't even realize you was gone.
I was back and forth so much, just trying to find me, trying to find what works best for me. Not even thinking about the boys and the family dynamic. But if I'm being honest, I think there was a level of unsettledness inside of me when I went back to Kansas City, because once you're exposed to something different, it's hard to unsee it. So I tried to make the best of it back home, but my mentality just wouldn't change. I couldn't. I think because I had so much support and so many friends, everything was just so comfortable for me. It was really hard for me to push myself to go higher because it was just too easy for me. I mean, I had friends everywhere, gas stations, restaurants. It was just too convenient. So I think my mindset didn't actually shift till I came back to California in 2015 with both of my boys. So.
Yeah. And what was the shift? Like, what did you see different when you moved back to California?
Man, I was able to realize so much once I removed myself. I call it noise. Once I removed myself from all the noise, the friends and the family, and it's no disrespect, but when you're not able to be in a clear space and you can't think clear for what it is that you and your family needs, essentially you're surrounded with a lot of noise. I think I was able to realize that maybe some of the people that I thought were my friends weren't my friends, that my boys did need more of me, that they actually did have an amazing father, but yet I was just so clouded with everything else going around me and being easily persuaded by the relationships that I saw, that I actually do need to make a good amount of money so that I can actually feed my boys and just get in position. I just wasn't clear. And I think moving here away from all the distractions and the noise, I was able to actually think clear so I could make clear decisions.
So Paige, we talked about you living in Kansas and you making a lot of different decisions based on your environment, right? And then you moving back to Sacramento back in 2005 2015 changed everything. Now, I'm real big on your environment. Like, your environment can shape you. It can shape your mindset. Not that it can, it will eventually. Even the strongest, I always tell people, you got to be 10 times stronger than everybody else that's trying to pull you in the opposite way. If not, they're going to drag you exactly where they're at. And it sounds like when you went back to Kansas City, you was doing all the things you should never have been doing because you had a calling on your life. And I feel like God was tugging and pulling on you the whole time. Let's talk about that.
So for as long as I can remember, every weekend, just group of friends, family members, older girls. I always wanted to be around older girls. I just thought I was too cool for people around my age. I had a few friends around my age, but for the most part, we was out every weekend, and it was like no matter where we went, no matter where we go, it didn't matter how cute we were, I always felt unsettled. Even if I was known, even if I talk, let's just say that, there's always the popular boys or the popular men that everybody knew, the nice cars, all the things, because that was the end thing. There was a level of like unsettledness in me. I remember having a conversation with one of my friends, and she was like, "Oh, you got one of the most, he got this and he got that, he got money," and I was just never moved. Like, though it was a popular thing to do, I just always felt unsettled. And it wasn't just because it wasn't right, because I'm in it for the wrong reasons. I think it was just because being there, nothing felt comfortable. It didn't matter. Like I said, we would go to clubs every weekend, And I had to drink. I had to literally fill up my whole everything. I didn't want to think. I just wanted to be numb just so I can enjoy myself. But I always felt unsettled, not just because of the calling, but because I just didn't feel comfortable. Like I felt so uncomfortable.
Well, you felt uncomfortable because of the calling.
That's true. That's true.
You know, sometimes even when we don't know we're called, even when you don't know you're chosen, it's something like the Holy Spirit will make you uncomfortable because that's not where you're supposed to be.
Yep.
He's constantly pulling and tugging, even when we're in the middle of making bad decisions. We know this is not comfortable. That's how you know you're chosen. That's how you know you're called. You know, and but he never gives up. No matter how deep you're in it, he never give up. He's still pulling you. He's still tugging you. He's still whispering. So you moved back to California. And then what happened when you moved back to California?
So I moved back to California in 2015. It was my oldest son's, I want to say it was his 9th birthday. He was really young. He was in elementary school. And I showed up the day of his birthday because there'd be moments where Kenny would have the boys for a little amount of time, and then I would have them for a certain amount of time. But I knew that I wanted them to go to school out here. It didn't matter what I did or where I was. I knew I wanted them to start a school district out here because the inner city schools in Kansas City just wasn't my jam. So I showed up on his birthday. And at that time I was written from a friend, slept on the couch. I did whatever I needed to do just so I could be near my boys. I sent their father a long message. I said, hey, this is my plan. And he didn't believe me at the time. He didn't take me serious. And I showed up, and I'd say not even in 3 months, I found my own apartment. I did whatever I needed to do to make sure that I built some stability and sustainability for my boys. I remember working for a solar company in Elk Grove. We walked from house to house. It didn't matter what I needed to do. I did whatever. It didn't matter what I had to do. I did whatever I needed to do. So the boys knew that I'm showing up this time. I'm providing stability, and I'm making zero excuses for the things that for the boys who didn't ask to be here, and for the things that I actually stepped up for. And so, yeah.
That's dope. So you came here going door to door, selling solar panels. And you made a promise to yourself, and not to yourself, but to those boys. So what happened with Kenny? I know Kenny. So, and one thing that I caught that you said earlier is that you start to realize, or you start saying, like, these kids got a father, a good father at that. You know? And that's big, because a lot of us be running to something else, not realizing that these boys need their dad. They need their dad, and their dad is pretty amazing. He may not be the best boyfriend or the husband, but he was a pretty good father. Yeah.
And funny thing is, to your point, Sharie, just hearing you say that, if I'm being completely honest, it was just the people that I was surrounded with back home that wouldn't allow me to just embrace the type of father that he was to the boys. Even, we were young in a relationship, and we were young doing so much, but because everybody's story was, oh, my BD's not a part of my kid's life, and put him on child support, and I still feel unsettled, but I remember doing it. Well, you need help, and you need this, and you need that. And I didn't feel comfortable, but because I'm a product of my environment, and whatever you're feeling, I'm going to subconsciously start feeling that, oh yeah, you're right, he is a bad. And I painted this whole narrative of him, and the whole time when I came out here, I realized I in fact recall many conversations of me apologizing because of my mentality.
Wow, that's deep.
Yeah. So, but he and I had a conversation. We had multiple conversations about what school. The boys are already established. Thankful. He's, again, such an amazing father. They're already in a good school. The oldest one at that time, Peyton, he had put him in a daycare. Gave me all the information. We came up with a schedule. We've always, even to this day, our boys are 14 and 16 now. We've never had to go through court. We've always had really good communication. And we sat down and we had a conversation, and then from there we just.
So was they living out here with their dad?
At that time, at that time when I had moved out here, they were already with him.
Okay.
And so I knew that was my time to gather all my items and shift. While he had them. So yeah, they were out here at that time.
And so you called him and said you're moving back. He didn't believe you.
He didn't believe me. I wrote him a long message. Didn't believe me. And everything I said that I was going to do, it happened. You did. Very intentional. That's dope. Yeah. That's dope. So let's talk about your identity and pressure.
you know, being around so many people, and I always say, the pressure of other people, the pressure of your environment, the pressure of where you're hanging out can definitely shape your mentality, right? You knew that wasn't supposed to be your story, so you shifted. But it wasn't an easy shift, because I know how strongholds are. So how did you stay consistent for those who may be listening and also struggling with making a decision and being intentional and following through, knowing what you're thinking, saying what's coming out your mouth, but living it? How did you shift your mindset? How did you shift the way you was thinking before? How did you get yourself in a space to where you did exactly what you said you was going to do without the pressure or noise from other people?
Yeah, that's a good question. I can say that my relationship with God then is nowhere near now. So I immediately want to fall back to that. But and he was working on the back end now that I think about it. But I remember vividly, there were specific, like for sure Facebook, I had to deactivate Facebook. I think just being triggered and seeing family and friends on there scrolling subconsciously made me want to go back to that lifestyle. So I got rid of social media. I had to write down everything from start to finish. And then I remember every corner of my apartment, I put a picture of the boy smiling. Like I needed to see that. I needed to put that on my background. I needed to know it. I needed to remind myself, like, this is what you're doing it for. And I stuck to it. And I just remember I was searching desperately just to find different people that I could talk to and that can pour into me. And in those moments of me being persistent and adamant, it was almost as if God was like, no, I just want you and me right now. Like no one would call me back. No one was available. Of course I couldn't call my family members as far as my parents, because they were upset that I moved. So I had to keep those relationships. They were at a distance because of the circumstances. But yeah, I just remember just writing down everything, and the pictures of the boys, I had black and whites of just me and us three just smiling. And then I remember driving around. I had this hoopty. I remember driving around Elk Grove, going to different parks. It's such a beautiful city. The weather is beautiful, and I just sat at the different mini parks when the boys would go with their dad, and I just would weep. I would cry, and I'm like, I can't go back. I can't go back. And
did God ever give you a vision of what he wanted, like, this is what your life is going to be like? Did he ever give you a vision or anything, like to give you hope, to give you something to look forward to?
So he did. And the one thing that stood out to me the most was how I was going to help younger girls around I would always see, like, matter of fact, I actually had a dream of me standing in a room full of younger girls. It was a big room, and they were just around my age at that time, had to be between the ages of like 16 and 20. And they were all just like watching me as I stood up and I spoke. But at that time, I was nowhere near qualified to be able to do that. So I just kind of brushed it off. But yeah, that was it. It was just me amongst a bunch of younger girls, and I just remember the eyes was just glued to me. I don't know what we were talking about, and then I just brushed it off. To this day, I just brushed it off. Because funny thing I was going to mention too, Sharie, I've always had a dream to have a family. I always wanted a 2-parent home with my children. I wanted to have a bunch of kids. But the group of people that I was with, the friendships that I would hang around, and I just remember whenever I would connect with different people, again, in my hometown in Kansas City, they would be upset. They would be angry. They would feel away, like, you wasn't supposed to get connected to this person. You never were supposed to actually build a connection. You were supposed to meet him and have fun and do whatever y'all gonna do and then leave. But I was always the kind of person that wanted connection, because that's just my personality. Like, I'm not, there's nothing surface level about my conversation. So we automatically would build relationships. But because that wasn't their story, and they weren't happy in their relationships if they did have them, I then told myself that that's something that I didn't want. So for years I would tell myself, oh, I don't want a relationship. Even when my boys were young, and I always dreamed about having my family. This is what my friends are saying. This is what they believe is appropriate for me in my age. So we just gonna go out every weekend. I'm gonna push out things that I know God wants me to do. So Yeah.
I want to go backwards a little bit. You say you wasn't qualified, but when you say you wasn't qualified, I think about David being called, right? God qualified him before he even took that position. And even though he called him to be king, remember it took him some years before he became king. And so God always qualifies us, even when you're not prepared at that time. In his eyes, you're qualified. And that's the reason why he never gives up. You know, we're not waiting for the church to tell us, okay, now you're good enough.
Right.
No, he already said you was good enough. He said you was good enough when you was out there in those streets.
Right.
He said you was good enough when you was out there in the clubs and drinking, and you was good enough. And so he qualified you then. So when you said that, it stuck with me. And then also when I was thinking about your friends and your family and their influence, you know, I think about Moses, and I think about how he didn't make it into the promised land because of his environment, right? He allowed the environment to change how he moved. When God told him the first time to hit the rock, he did it. Okay, he was obedient. And then God told him again to speak to the rock, because he was trying to show him the power that was in your voice.
That's like, so good.
You speak it. When anything God ever done, he spoke it. So he was trying to show him who was inside of him, who was leading him. And so he was so frustrated because of the people murmuring and talking about this and talk about that. And I think about when Moses sent 12 spies to go look at the promised land, and they saw exactly what God said. They said it's milk and honey, right? But then the 10 that came back, they said, oh man, there are giants over there. They're going to defeat us. This and this and that and this and that. And they were just talking about all the negative stuff. 12 people saw the same thing. They saw the same thing. 2 focus on the promise of God. The other 10 focus on them being defeated.
Right.
And so when they came back to tell Moses what was over there, you know, the whole environment around them start being panicked. Oh my God, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. How are we going to go over there? And then because of how they reacted, they never thought that generation had to be died off because they wasn't even mentally prepared to walk into this fight seeing God like they were supposed to. They saw the opponent, right? And so when you talk about your cousins, you talk about the people saying, well, you're not supposed to be doing this, you're not supposed to be doing that. I know what God showed me. I know the vision that he gave me. I know it's more to relationships than just to get the money and mess around with these guys. No, I am built to be a wife. I am built for intimacy. I am built to be a great friend. I am built to be a great communicator, right? And so in the midst of everything you was going through, as you tell your story, I just all these different stories I've been watching and listening to for the last couple of months, because I started the Bible from the very beginning. So I'm like going through the whole journey, and it's like, oh, this is that story. Oh, this is that story. Oh, that's the David story. Oh, that's the Isaac and and Abraham story. And so I just see God all over you, and I see the situations, because a lot of people, it was 12 people that went over there. 10 people came back and talked about how they was going to be defeated.
Wow.
2 people only focused on the promise of God. And so if anything, I feel like even when you wasn't thinking that you was focused on God, you was focused on God. Because you was focused on being righteous. You was focused on having sincere relationships, right? You was focused like in the background, and the enemy is going to tell you, no, you're not. No, you're not. You don't want to be married. You don't want those type of relationships. But in the back, like the Holy Spirit was constantly saying, nope, that's a lie. Nope, that's a lie. And remember what I've shared with you. I don't know. I just thought about that.
That was really good.
The stories never change. The way the enemy strategy, he never changed. His whole thing is to take away our identity. And that's what I feel like when you're talking, I can hear how people was trying to take away your identity in Christ.
Yeah.
He's the same snake back then that he is now, and he don't have no new strategy. None. He always attacked who we are and our identity.
Yeah.
And that takes me to my third question, as far as how did your identity shift from even your childhood? Like, what happened as what formed that disconnect? Because I feel like you was always kind of connected. Like God had a hand in your life. But what other things was trying to create a different identity growing up in your household?
Some misappropriations with family members where you sexually touched or molestation, that's the word I'm looking for. Different things that transpired, genderless, didn't matter, male, female, big cousins, whatever, you name it. Some of those feelings that I got at a young age, it really shaped the way that I thought growing up. And again, it's always the people that you least expect. People talk about it now. I think it's now more common to hear about it now, but it again, you grow up and then you got friends, same things happen to them. So y'all at birthday parties and y'all trying different things. And it's just, a lot of this stuff is happening as a kid and you're so confused and you don't know why you're, like, that it's not right, but there's a feeling that you're craving. And as you get older, I use the term now, you become hypersexual. You crave different feelings and emotions, and a lot of people are thinking that they're crazy, but what happened is that those are seeds that was planted as kids, and now we grew up with confusion. Now you're looking for different things. I could even say for a lot of men, you're looking for different voids to fill that when you never really fully realize where that seed was planted. And so because of that, my story wasn't necessarily me laying and sleeping with a bunch of different men. It was that I always craved the attention of different men. I always wanted attention of different, because of, for whatever reason, I never felt like I was enough. But my story was, it wasn't gonna be the same person. It was just gonna be different. I have no idea what the correlation, I don't know why that was my story, but that was a seed that was planted. And I was just, it brought a state of confusion to my life for a long time.
Have you ever dealt with that? Have you ever dealt with the little girl inside of Paige?
It's funny. I've been, actually, when I came to your house, you were having an event and you brought up how there was a picture you put in your background of you and I never thought about that. And I think, I said I wasn't gonna cry. I'm not gonna do it. But I think that really planted a seed in my mind because I did it. I changed my background and I just started looking at who I was, and it brought me back to tears.
You said something earlier. I want you to repeat it. And you was talking about, what do you do when you're talking on a panel or you're talking? Say that one more time.
What do you do when you're used to cultivate a space of healing for everybody in the room, but one of the people that you're actually cultivating a space for is in the room that actually caused most of the trauma in your life? Like, how do you handle that? The person that hurt you is also the person that God is using to help heal them. Like,
God is using you to help heal them. That's deep. And they are one of the people that hurt you.
One of the main ones.
Yeah. No, that's deep. That's deep. And Paige, honestly, most people can't do it. Most people cannot sit in a room and talk about something, especially when that thing has not been addressed. So we're talking about healing, cultivating a space for healing. And one of the people that that's in the room, that God has brought into the room for you to pour into, is the person that got you broken and on a healing journey in the first place.
Yep. As a kid, as a child.
How did you do it?
The only thing I could think of is, there are other people here that need me, and there's a reason why she's here. And all I kept thinking about was just different stories in the Bible. If I'm being so transparent, like, if Jesus could speak to the different people that not even speak, if he could just, his aura, how the Bible describes how he is with just the people that wanted to crucify him and wanted to, knowing he was an innocent man, but yet he still spoke in a manner where he had no ill feelings toward them. Like he had every reason to be like, y'all really got me messed up in here. But you know what? I got to do what my father says, and I got to be about his business. And so that's all I kept thinking about. It's somebody in here that need me, and it might be that person. I just never thought it would be me.
Yeah. I'm telling you, every time I think about it, this is why getting into your word and understanding the Bible for yourself. So when people is talking, you know, you can relate the scripture to the story, you know, that's really deep. And you guys still haven't had that conversation.
Still haven't had any conversations with anybody.
Now, what is preventing you now from having those conversations? You going through your healing journey. I'm listening to you talk all the time. Like when I get onto social media and I see you in that car or I see you at the park, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's powerful. So when, or even is God telling you that some conversations is going to happen? Has he told you, or have you felt like these conversations going to have to happen soon?
I feel like they are going to be necessary. I do feel like I have to. I think that's one of the biggest fears that I have yet to face. I think it's because it's just not common to talk about in families, especially Black families. And I think for me, one of my biggest fears is everybody acting different or people choosing not to believe you. And I don't even know if it'll get out to anybody else, but I just don't know how specific people would react or respond. And so I just don't know. I haven't really thought about it much, Sharie, if I'm honest.
None of your parents know?
Nope, never told them. Because we've always just kind of, not them in particular, but us as a whole, we've always just brushed that stuff under the rug. But then we condemn our kids for, you know, being alcoholics or being, you know, whatever they might be addicted to be able to numb their pain. But we don't actually go deep and figure out exactly why. And I'm not saying that's the case for everybody,
but it's a case for majority.
It is.
And a lot of times we don't deal with this. We want to deal with the surface, but we don't want to deal with the root.
Yep.
Yes, Paige is out here drinking, but why is Paige out here drinking? She's just not making bad decisions because she want to make bad decisions.
Right.
Something happened, and let's get down to the root of it. You know, I always share my story of me being a bad little girl, but people didn't understand that I was teased. I didn't know how to talk. I had a stuttering issue. I had a learning disability. So all those things that I was dealing with underneath the surface thing of me fighting, me always getting in trouble, that was just the surface. But the main root was I was tormented when I was a little kid about me not being able to talk and being teased and uncles teasing me and then me not feeling pretty enough and me having teeth that I went every which way but the right way, says my uncle. And you know, you see a kid and you're seeing the surface of them being bad, but nobody really takes the time to say, okay, let me go deeper. Let me figure out what's going on. Because I always say, if I started this journey when I was in my 20s or even in my teens, I'll be so much further than what I am today. And so I try to even tell my boys, like, listen, counseling is important. If you guys can't talk to me, let's go get some counseling. I'll put some money away for counseling because I know as a hurt young mother having kids all in my 20s, I can't even imagine my boys having kids in their 20s, you know. But having kids in my 20s, it's a lot of stuff I did not do right. Which probably caused some trauma within them. And so the sooner you able to sit down on the couch and talk to somebody and help them with that, with your trauma and with that journey, that start the journey of healing and dealing with the root of what's causing the things that's happening in, you know, on the surface, then it'll be a faster process and you won't be 47 talking about I need to go to counseling after I just messed up 1, 2, 3, 4 relationships and my kids is you understand what I'm saying? Like doing the work now and dealing with the situations. And I commend you for even talking about it, because a lot of families don't talk about it. I have so many, my circle of friends. One day we had a prayer group meeting at my house, and everybody in there was talking about how they was molested. And I was just looking like, well, damn, have I ever been molested?
Right.
Like, is this something that I'm blocking out?
Right.
And I was just like, this is like, it's so many people. Almost everybody in there had a story but me. And it's common. It's very common. It's from uncles, it's from brothers, it's from daddies. You know, it's so many stories. So yeah, it's very common. And more people needs to talk about it, because I think that's the bondage that's holding people captive. Like they're in bondage, and they need to be set free. But freedom comes in your testimony. Freedom comes with actually having the conversation and saying this happened, and also saying you did this to me. You did this to me. You know, so I'm gonna definitely be praying for you, because that's going to be some boldness that only God going to be able to give that to you, to be able to have that conversation and then walk away without feeling guilty.
Right.
Because then we have that situation. Now I feel bad because it happened so long ago and now my family's mad. No, we're talking about setting you free.
Right.
Because when you get set free, you're going to be able to walk these other girls through their journey to being set free as well. Yeah. That's deep. That's good. I didn't even know this was going to take us this route, but that helped me a lot.
Well, that's why I came up with the concept developed in the dark. It's not just to say I have something, but because I know that a lot of people were developed in those dark moments. Like, you thought if we would allow the enemy's plan to prevail, that dark place would have took me somewhere. I end up with a DUI in jail or whatever the case may be, but it was really meant to develop you. So all those moments that actually happened to you, we can't stay there. What did it do for you? Now what are you doing? Now I'm coming back and I'm actually speaking up about it. Now I'm doing an event, not shameless plug, but putting on an event in my hometown, in the place where most of the trauma started, where we're talking about those dark moments that actually developed you, and why is it important to actually talk about it? Why do we need people like you to be able to create a space for us to actually be able to feel comfortable?
Yeah, so maybe that's your calling, is to, show people that this is not where you're supposed to be. You're here, but this is not your end, and don't make somebody feel so bad, like Bible thumping. We don't want a Bible thump.
Right.
No more Bible thumping. I was talking to somebody about the Bible, and I'm like, do you know what Jesus' line looked like?
Right.
It was hoes, prostitutes, killers, manipulators. Jacob alone was, they said he was after God's heart, right? Or he really had the heart of God, or he had something. I forgot what they was talking about, Jacob. But Jacob stole the birthright from Esau.
Sure did.
And then he left, fled. His mama Rebecca helped him, and then they called
got the sisters pregnant.
Listen, he got both of the sisters. But what happened to him, right? What he did to his brother.
Oh yeah,
the father did to him, and told him, well, first you got to do this for so many years,
Sure did.
and then he ended up sending him to marry the wrong sister, and then he had to give 8 more. Like he did that to other people, it ended up coming back to him. But that's the reason why God changed his name from Jacob to Israel.
But even more, Rachel, the sister that he actually wanted, ended up deceiving her father when they were leaving. She ended up dying so the woman that it was just a whole
It's
deception.
a whole mess. It's a whole mess. So when people talking about how messed up you are, I always say, go back to the Bible.
Listen.
Go back to the line. Go back, because the Bible is a mess. It's a hot mess.
It is.
And so if God can walk those people through it without Christ, now we got Christ. Now we have the covenant. We have the grace.
Yeah.
And so, no one's perfect. And so we really have to stop the, Bible thumping. And even me, like posting certain things? Because I know the church people want to just come and tear you down about everything you post and this and that. It's like, I don't care nothing about any of that. My relationship is with God.
Right.
My relationship is pleasing Him. My relationship is how do He look at me?
Right.
Because people will break you. They will lift you up one minute and stump you down the next minute. So I don't get high off of neither one of them. I don't get upset, or I don't get all excited when people cheer for me or boo me. And I'm learning that. I'm learning that. But yeah, is it anything else? I know we're going to finish this conversation. This is just the first. But what are you doing with you said you're creating a stage, a platform to help heal other women that look like you. What does that look like?
I've always had a vision, and I've always just wanted or saw myself in a room of different people with different stories, like similar to mine, with different people in the audience to be able to hear their story. I think what I've noticed is that there are many people that think they go through things on their own, but when you can actually hear it from people that you would have never thought, people that you look up to, people that look like you, because kind of what you mentioned earlier, the world got like pastors and people of influence on pedestals that they don't look at them like they're normal. So when you actually can hear that they've been through some things that you've been through, and or going through some things that's going through things that you're going through, like, it's like, okay, it's not just me. Like, I can do this. Like, I can get through it.
You can get through it.
And I think, well, my vision and my goal is to just have a panel of different stories so people can actually hear it, and so we can help heal.
Yeah, I remember I had a women event called Unmask. And it was all these like nurses, doctors, professionals. Wow. And they came up in front of all these women and they started unmasking. And after they finished telling their story, what they just finished sharing looked nothing like who they are today.
Wow.
And my vision behind that was, a lot of people think it's hard to obtain this. Like, they look at Sharie and they be like, oh, Sharie got this, she got that, she got everything going on, but let me tell you my story.
Right.
And then once I share my story, now I position myself not to be idolized, one, but also being looked at like, this is where I'm at right now. And if I'm there right now, then I know if I work on it, if I believe, I could be where she's at now.
It's
today.
doable.
You know, it's doable. So giving people the
good.
hope and belief is every single thing. I wanted to, before we finish, I know I keep saying we're almost done, but we're gonna bring Paige back because there's so much more that we need to talk about. I wanted to talk about attraction versus alignment. That was good, but I know we're short on time. I want to talk about, how did you meet your forever? How did you meet your husband?
So we met through a mutual friend at our church. Shout out to E2. We met, but we didn't meet. We met. It wasn't even about our relationship at all, or anything connected to meeting each other in that realm. But what happened was, because we'll be here all day, but the fast forward, I was actually in a situation where I was being disobedient, and God had already told me a long time ago to walk away from that. But because of my mentality, going back to what I know for years, long story short, one Sunday morning, I was going on a walk and I fell. Matter of fact, Mother's Day of last year, hit my face, whole face was tore up. You would have thought I got beat up. That's how bad it was. I had met Channing, I'm gonna go back to the story. I met him about maybe 2 weeks before that. Mind you, we weren't, again, there was no attraction there, at least we didn't speak on it at all. I seen him at church on Mother's Day, and he told me he had a dream about me. And I'm like, what a dream about me? Like, mind you, we don't have none of this going on. So if you say you got a dream, either you weird or something ain't right. And so he asked me what was wrong with my face. And I was embarrassed. I tried to run from him. I didn't want him to see me because it was horrible. And he was like, well, I had a dream that you were working out and there was a dude. I was actually gonna go, I'm sorry, you were working out, but when you were getting off the machine, you fell. But I was gonna go up to help you, but some man ran in front of me. So I was like, oh, okay, well, he gonna help her up. Again, I was in a situation where I was slowly but surely pulling myself away from that because I knew it wasn't what I was supposed to do. So that morning, me in that previous situation was on the phone, was a moment I fell and smashed my face against the wall. I truly believe, now everybody can have their own beliefs, but I believe in that moment of me falling, I knew it was bigger than just a fall. Like, God was trying to get my attention. Like I literally was about to go backwards. In my mind, this is the person I'm supposed to be with. I'm going back home. I'm doing everything I said I wasn't gonna do. When he told me he had that dream, it blew me.
Oh my goodness.
So then, yeah.
So wait.
So much more context. I'm trying to speed it up.
He had a dream that you failed at the gym and that he was going to help you up, but another man was swooping up before you, before him, and got to you before he got to you.
Yep.
And you was on a phone with a dude that you was not supposed to be talking to. God already warned you. And when you was on a phone with him, that's when you fell.
Yep.
And he was the man that was probably in the way at that moment. Wow. That's dope. That's crazy.
Yep.
So you knew that was like a sign. Like, okay,
I knew.
God.
Because that day while we was in church, God made it very clear to me, you need to end this. Like, you need to, like, fully cut it off. Like, and I didn't know what me and Channing, I didn't know what our relationship was going to be. In fact, him telling me that could have ruined, because we weren't tight like that. We weren't. But that day, on Mother's Day, I called him and I said, hey, I don't know what God is doing, but it just, yeah.
And was that the last time you talked to him?
That was the last time we spoke for a while.
Wow.
For a while. And then people try to sneak on in there, but I knew it. I had already moved on, so I was like, yeah. But yeah, that was it. That was the rest was history.
Yeah. Because I think sometimes God will warn us.
Oh, man.
Like he would get in our face, like, listen, if you don't stop, this is what's going to be your story. But I'm trying to prevent you.
Like, God will hurt you.
Yeah.
I see you about to go in a season that I'm telling you not to go in. But I think God really knew that I felt in my heart that this was it. Like, he knew his Bible. He knew scripture. He was talking about marriage. Everything that I wanted around that time. It was crazy. But
yeah,
God was like,
that's a whole. Listen, we're gonna have Paige back.
It was
because
crazy.
That's so good. Listen, I can't believe it's been an hour,
man.
But we're gonna have you back.
This was fun.
Let's have this conversation again, and we have so much more to go over. But this is just the beginning. I want to thank you, Paige, for being transparent, sharing your testimony. Remember, we overcome by the power of our testimony. And by sharing our testimony. So thank you for choosing me to share your story with. And for all of you guys, thank you for tuning in to Level Up with Sharie Wilson. And we'll see you next time.